The sun dipped below the mesas, casting long shadows across the Apache camp. The air was thick with the scent of sagebrush and wood smoke. In the center of the clearing, a fire crackled, its flames dancing against the encroaching twilight. Around it, the tribe gathered, their faces illuminated by the flickering light. Chief Nantan, a man with weathered skin and eyes that held the wisdom of many seasons, stood before his people. His voice, when he spoke, was firm and carried the weight of authority. "White Dove," he said, addressing the young woman who stood before him, "the time has come for you to choose a husband. You have reached the age where you must marry. And it is our way that you select from among the warriors of our tribe." White Dove, known for her grace and fierce independence, lowered her eyes briefly. She was the daughter of a respected warrior, and her beauty was matched only by her skill in healing and her knowledge of the land. But she had always been different, curious about the world beyond the tribe, often watching the horizon as if waiting for something or someone. The chief continued, "3 of our finest warriors have offered for your hand. Stand forward." From the crowd, 3 men stepped into the circle of firelight. First was Koa, a broad-shouldered hunter known for his strength and bravery. Next was Chato, a cunning strategist who had led many successful raids. Was Taza, a quiet but skilled trekker with a gentle demeanor. Each man stood proud, expecting White Dove's consideration. But White Dove's gaze drifted past them, to the edge of the camp where the prisoners were kept. Among them was a lone cowboy, his hands bound, his hat missing, and his clothes dusty from travel. He had been captured 2 days ago when he stumbled upon their hunting party. His name was Jack Sullivan, and he had been driving cattle north when he got separated from his group. Now he watched the proceedings with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. Chief Nantan followed White Dove's gaze. "The white man is not one of us," he said, his tone implying that such a choice was unthinkable. "You must choose from among your own people." White Dove took a deep breath. She had seen Jack when he was brought in. Despite his predicament, he had shown no fear, only a resigned calm. He had even tried to communicate with gestures, offering a smile that seemed genuine. There was something about him that stirred her heart, a sense of adventure perhaps, or the hint of a different life. The chief's order hung in the air. "Choose one as your husband." Without hesitation, White Dove raised her hand and pointed directly at Jack. "I choose him," she said, her voice clear and steady. A murmur rippled through the tribe. The 3 warriors looked stunned, then angry. Koa stepped forward, his fists clenched. "This is an insult. He is our enemy." Chato added, "He is not Apache. He does not know our ways." Taza simply shook his head, disappointment in his eyes. Chief Nantan's expression darkened. "White Dove, think carefully. This choice will bring shame upon you and your family. The cowboy is a prisoner. He may not even survive the week." White Dove stood her ground. "I have chosen. My heart speaks and I listen." Jack, from his spot, understood little of the Apache language, but he could read the body language. He saw the woman pointing at him, saw the anger in the warriors' faces, and felt a knot tighten in his stomach. What was happening? Was she choosing him for marriage? That seemed impossible. The chief studied White Dove for a long moment. Then he sighed, "So be it. But know this. If you choose the cowboy, he must prove himself worthy. He must learn our ways and contribute to the tribe. If he fails, he will be cast out, and you will be left without a husband." White Dove nodded. "I accept." Chief Nantan turned to Jack. "Bring him forward." 2 warriors dragged Jack to the center. The chief addressed him in broken English. "You, cowboy, White Dove choose you for husband. You live with us now. You learn Apache ways. If you fail, you die." Jack's eyes widened. He looked at White Dove, who met his gaze with determination. In her eyes, he saw not malice, but a strange kind of hope. He swallowed hard. I don't understand. Marriage?" White Dove stepped closer and spoke in halting English learned from traders. "Yes. You my husband now. You stay. Jack felt a whirlwind of emotions, fear, confusion, but also a spark of curiosity. This woman had saved him from perhaps a worse fate, and now he was bound to her. He nodded slowly. "All right, I'll try." The tribe dispersed, whispering among themselves. White Dove led Jack to a small wickiup at the edge of the camp. "This is my home, now yours too." Jack entered the dwelling, his mind racing. What had he gotten himself into, and why had this Apache woman chosen him? As he sat on the fur-covered ground, he watched White Dove prepare a meal. She moved with efficiency, but her hands trembled slightly. She was nervous, too. "Thank you," Jack said softly, "for choosing me." White Dove looked at him, her dark eyes reflecting the firelight. "I see you in your eyes. You are not like others. You have kindness." Jack smiled faintly. "I hope I can live up to your expectations." But as the night deepened, both knew that challenges lay ahead. The tribe would watch their every move, and the disappointed warriors would seek any opportunity to undermine them. Jack had to learn a new way of life, and White Dove had to defend her choice against all odds. That first night, as they lay on separate mats, Jack stared at the ceiling of the wickiup, listening to the distant sounds of the camp settling. He thought about his past life, the endless cattle drives, the lonely nights under the stars, the fleeting friendships in dusty towns. It had been a life of movement, but never of belonging. Here, though strange and dangerous, he felt a peculiar sense of possibility. White Dove's breathing was steady nearby, and he wondered what dreams she harbored. Did she see him as a tool for change, or was there something more? He drifted to sleep with these questions, unaware that White Dove lay awake too, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and hope. She had defied tradition, and now she had to guide this outsider through a world that might reject them both. But in his eyes, she had seen a reflection of her own yearning for something beyond the familiar, and that was enough to risk everything. The next morning Jack awoke to the sounds of the camp stirring. He emerged from the wickiup to find White Dove already outside, grinding corn on a stone mattet. She handed him a bowl of simple gruel. "Eat. Today you begin learning." Jack ate quickly, his eyes scanning the camp. He saw curious glances, some hostile, some merely interested. Koa, the warrior who had been one of her suitors, stood nearby, sharpening a knife. He glared at Jack, then spat on the ground. White Dove ignored him. "Come. Chief Nantan will assign you tasks." Jack followed her to the chief's lodge. Chief Nantan was seated outside, smoking a pipe. He looked at Jack with appraising eyes. "Cowboy, you know horses?" Jack nodded. "Yes, I'm a cowboy. I know horses." "Good. You will help with our horses, but first, you must prove you can ride as we do." "Apache ride without saddle often." "You try." Jack was taken to a corral where several horses were kept. These were Mustangs, smaller and more spirited than the horses he was used to. White Dove handed him a simple bridle. "Use this. Show your skill." Jack approached a chestnut mare, speaking softly to calm her. He slipped the bridle on and mounted bareback. The mare sidestepped, but Jack held firm, his balance honed from years in the saddle. He urged her into a trot, then a gallop, circling the corral. He demonstrated control, guiding her with his knees and voice. The Apache watchers murmured in approval. Even Koa looked impressed, though he tried to hide it. Chief Nantan nodded. "You ride well. But riding is not enough. You must hunt. Today you go with hunting party." Jack was included in a group led by Chato, the strategist. Chato made it clear that he was not welcome. "Stay close, white man. Do not scare game." The hunting party moved silently through the rugged terrain. Jack observed how the Apache used signs and signals to communicate. He tried to mimic their stealth, but his boots crunched on dry leaves, earning him scowls. Chato handed him a bow. "You shoot." Jack had used a bow before, but not like this. He missed his first shot at a deer, the arrow flying wide. Chato snorted. "Useless." But Jack persisted. On the second attempt, he managed to graze a rabbit, which was quickly finished by another hunter. It was a small success, but it earned him a nod from one of the older hunters. Back at camp, White Dove greeted him with a smile. "I hear you did okay." Jack shrugged. "Barely. I have a lot to learn." Over the next few days, Jack struggled to adapt. The language barrier was significant, but White Dove taught him words and phrases. He learned to help with chores, from repairing shelters to gathering firewood. At night, they sat by the fire, and White Dove shared stories of her people, while Jack told tales of his life on the trail. Slowly, a bond formed between them. Jack admired White Dove's strength and wisdom, and she found in Jack an openness and respect that she had not seen in the men of her tribe. He listened to her opinions, valued her thoughts, and treated her as an equal, something uncommon in her culture. However, tension simmered. Kowa and Chato continued to challenge Jack at every turn. During a wrestling match, Kowa deliberately tackled Jack too hard, causing him to bruise his ribs. White Dove intervened, her eyes flashing. "He is my husband. You will show respect." Kowa backed down, but his resentment grew. He began spreading rumors that Jack was a spy for the white settlers, that he would bring trouble to the tribe. Chief Nantan called a council. "The cowboy has shown effort, but he is still an outsider. We must decide if he can truly be one of us." White Dove spoke passionately in Jack's defense. "He learns our ways. He respects our traditions. He has even prayed with us to the spirits. Give him time." Jack, understanding the gist, added in broken Apache, "I wish to stay. I wish to be with White Dove." The council was divided. Some elders saw Jack's sincerity, while others feared change. Chief Nantan decided to give Jack one final test, a vision quest. He must spend 3 days alone in the desert, fasting and seeking guidance from the spirits. If he received a sign, he would be accepted. White Dove worried. "The vision quest is difficult. Many warriors struggle. Are you sure?" Jack took her hand. "I have to do this. For us." He set out with minimal supplies, a blanket, a water skin, and a sacred token from White Dove, a feather from an eagle. He found a secluded spot among the rocks, and began his vigil. The days were hot, the nights cold. Hunger and thirst gnawed at him, but he meditated, thinking about his life, his choices, and his growing feelings for White Dove. On the third night, as he stared at the stars, he saw a shooting star streak across the sky. Then, in the distance, he heard the cry of an eagle. He took it as a sign, but more importantly, he had a revelation. He wanted to build a life with White Dove, bridging their two worlds. Returning to camp, gaunt but determined, he reported his experience to the chief. "The spirits showed me that I belong here, with White Dove, and with the Apache people." Chief Nantan listened, then consulted with the shaman. The shaman agreed that the signs were favorable. The spirits accept him. Thus, Jack was formally accepted into the tribe. He was given Apache clothing and a new name, Lobo, meaning wolf, for his perseverance and loyalty. But just as they celebrated, a scout rushed into camp with news. A group of white settlers was approaching, looking for a missing cowboy named Jack Sullivan. The celebration froze, and all eyes turned to Jack. He felt a cold dread. His past was catching up, and it threatened everything he had built. White Dove stood by his side, her hand slipping into his, a silent promise of solidarity. Chief Nantan's face was unreadable, but his eyes held a question: would Jack remain Lobo, or would he revert to being Jack Sullivan the cowboy? The answer would define not only his future but the fate of the entire tribe. The celebration halted abruptly. All eyes turned to Jack. Chief Nantan's expression was grave. "These white men, they come for you." Jack nodded. "Probably. I was part of a cattle drive. They must have tracked me." White Dove gripped his arm. "You are Lobo now. You stay." But Jack knew it wasn't that simple. The settlers might be hostile, and if they found him living with the Apache, it could spark conflict. He had to decide: return to his old life, or stay with White Dove and risk war. Chief Nantan called for a strategy meeting. We can hide you, or we can meet them in peace. Jack thought quickly. Let me talk to them, I can explain. Maybe they will leave peacefully. White Dove insisted on going with him. I am your wife. We face this together. So Jack and White Dove, accompanied by Chief Nantan and a few warriors, rode out to meet the settlers. They found them camped by a creek, a group of 5 men, armed and weary. When they saw Jack, one of them, a grizzled man named Hank, called out, Jack, is that you? We thought you were dead. Jack approached, holding up his hands in peace. I'm alive, Hank. These people took me in. Hank eyed the Apache nervously. They captured you? No, not exactly. Jack explained how he had been chosen by White Dove and had joined the tribe. I've decided to stay here, Hank. This is my home now. Hank was incredulous. Stay with the Apache. Have you lost your mind? Come back with us. We need to finish the cattle drive. Jack shook his head. My place is with White Dove. Tell the others I'm fine. But Hank wasn't satisfied. What about your family? Your ma back in Texas would want to know you're alive. Jack hadn't thought of that. He had no close family. But Hank was right, he had obligations. He felt torn. White Dove spoke up, her English careful but clear. Jack is happy here. He is my husband. We wish to live in peace. Hank looked at her, then at Jack. I can't force you, but if you stay, there might be trouble. Other settlers won't understand. They might see this as a betrayal. Chief Nantan stepped forward. We want peace. We trade with whites sometime, but we protect our own. Jack is one of us now. After a tense discussion, Hank agreed to leave without conflict, but he warned Jack that word would spread, and it might attract unwanted attention. Back at the Apache camp, Jack felt uneasy. He had chosen his path, but the outside world wouldn't simply let him go. White Dove sensed his worry. We will face whatever comes, she said. Weeks passed, and life settled into a new routine. Jack, now Lobo, continued to learn Apache ways and contributed to the tribe. He taught them some cowboy skills like roping and branding, which helped with their horse herds. White Dove and he grew closer, their love deepening with each shared sunrise. However, one day, a trader brought news. A group of bounty hunters was asking about a cowboy living with the Apache, claiming there was a reward for his return, dead or alive. It turned out that Jack had a past he'd forgotten. He was wanted for a crime he didn't commit, a bank robbery in a town he'd passed through months ago. The real culprit had framed him. Jack confessed to White Dove, I didn't do it, but I have no proof. If they find me, they'll take me away or kill me. White Dove was determined. We will prove your innocence. With Chief Nantan's blessing, Jack and White Dove set out to clear his name. They traveled to the nearest town, disguised as a Mexican trader and his wife. Using White Dove's knowledge of the land and Jack's familiarity with towns, they tracked down the real robber, a man named Slim, who was bragging in a saloon about his exploits. Jack confronted him, but Slim drew his gun in the ensuing struggle. White Dove intervened with a well-thrown knife, disarming Slim. They captured him and brought him to the sheriff, who recognized Slim from wanted posters. With Slim's confession, Jack was exonerated. Returning to the Apache camp as heroes, they were welcomed with open arms. Jack had proven his loyalty not only to White Dove but to the tribe.